Okay. Hi guys. So I just finished Persia's Brightest Star. There we go, you can see it. Sure hope so. And the Diary of Queen Esther's Attendant. It is that book from the Promised Land Diaries that I was talking about. And I have thoughts on it. So let's on it, and I wrote it in a little thingy for me to read. But yeah. So first, when I was reading this book, and this book is by Anne Adams, if I forgot to say that, I'm sorry. So the book is technically about Susanna. She is a fictional attendant of Queen Esther, and we watch from when Esther is just a girl in the harem, if you know the biblical story, to until she saves the people of Israel who are exiled in Persia, right? So this is based off of the biblical book of Esther, and if you don't know it, I would suggest reading it beforehand. If you ever would read these books, like read the biblical stories and where they're from, and then you'll get the context of it a whole lot more. It helps having that context because these books are based on the Bible. But yeah, and of course I have a lot of problems with these books, not because they're based on the Bible, of course, but because first, whenever I was reading this book did not feel like a diary at all. Because time would pass by and then she'd keep writing as if nothing had happened, and she doesn't. So whenever the author, like Susanna, the author of the book, whenever she would like write in the diary, she would tell the story in past tense, but that's it. Like that's really it. And whenever she doesn't add like, oh, I'm writing this from here, or it's been a while since this happened, or stuff like that, it just does not feel like a diary whenever I read it. She starts off like 3 new diaries. So at the end of part 1, that's when Esther was pronounced as queen, right? So that's cool. And then Susanna writes about, oh, my attitude like has changed towards Esther. And she's even like, oh, I don't know if I should call you Queen Esther or Your Highness or something like that. And then Esther's all over here like humble, but like, oh, just call me Esther, it's fine. And it's like, girly, Susanna, you're a servant. Call her Queen Esther. You're a servant. So much time has passed. There's 4 years between when we last read it in part 2 and now. Girly, will you not update us on something? Like whenever she talked about like, oh, the Passover feast is coming out, then she was like, oh, I'm gonna be 18 soon. It's like, that's it? That's all the update you're gonna give us? Like, did nothing else happen in your life? Like, what the heck? And honestly, it does not feel like, you know, a lot of time has passed, even though it says like, oh, it's 474 BC. And then when we last read it, it was 478. It's like, yeah, that's 4 years of time passage. Are you not like going to update us on anything? Right? So that felt weird. And then, oh yeah, another thing that bothered me about this book was, oh yeah, so the diary was not about Susanna, which was sad because I was going into this book being like, oh, we're gonna learn about what it's like her life being an attendant, and we kind of get that because we need that, but that's it. That's all we get. There's only like a little bit of her life in it, and like we barely touch up on her life. This diary is a whole lot more about Esther than it is about the main character, okay? And that kind of bothers me because this story is supposed to be about Susanna going through all these events and watching all of this happen to her people and stuff like that. Like, can we not get more of your own thoughts instead of Esther's thoughts? Like, that's cool and all, but like, I want to get from your perspective. We honestly get their perspectives all the time. You know, I want it from your perspective, Susanna. Like, give it to us. And Adams, that's what this diary is about. But yeah, those were a couple of my thoughts in this. Oh yeah, and another thing that bothered me so much was the foreshadowing was so obvious. The foreshadowing was so obvious. It slapped you in the face, right? And foreshadowing is not supposed to be like that. And I get it. A lot of people know the story. A lot of people know what's gonna happen, right? But it shouldn't be that obvious. Like, so when Haman first comes in the scene at the end of part 2, Susanna and Queen Esther, thank you very much, they talk about, oh, like Esther is just right off the bat like, I don't trust this guy. And I was like, girly, what makes you think that? Like, what makes do that, okay? Not just a random feeling for foreshadowing, okay? What actually makes you distrust him, okay? And as the story does go along, they do be like, oh, yeah, he's not someone to be trusted, because like that's after he already made his proclamation. They're like Sohelia, one of the other characters, is like, oh yeah, he's not trustworthy. He's like, yeah, no dip. He wants to cause a murder. Of course he's not gonna be trustworthy. But girly, don't make it so obvious, like right in the beginning. And also in the beginning of part 1 and throughout part 1, whenever we first meet Esther, like the diary just suddenly turns from Susanna to like, Esther, we're obsessed with Esther. And that's so annoying, because it's like, I want this perspective from Susanna. I want more from Susanna. I could care less about Esther. Not literally, but I could care less about her beauty. And then like how she's so special and how she's like, she's not like other girls and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, girly, that's not really cool, you know? Like, I get it, you're not like other girls, okay? You don't have to keep hammering it down on us. Like, Esther's not like, we've gotten that storyline all the time. I'm annoyed with it by this point. And I bet most of the reading community is annoyed with it by this point of, oh, she's not like other girls. It's like, we get it, right? This book, if I needed to do a rating, like out of 10, like 10 being the best, 0 being the worst, I would kind of give it like a 6, just because it's good for middle grade kids to like learn more about this, but that's really it. It didn't suck. So Persia's Brightest Star did not suck, but also like sometimes it did feel genuinely like a diary, and that was only one entry in part 3 did it genuinely feel like a diary when the second banquet was coming along. There's a whole tangent on that one. If you read the Esther story in the Bible, then you understand what I'm talking about. You know, second banquet, there's 2 banquets. This book was pretty good. For like a genre where you would write a story where a lot of people know about it or know what's gonna happen. And I've written those kinds of stories before, but you still need to put in that sense of mystery, that sense of fear, that sense of anxiety of like, okay, we know what's gonna happen, the audience knows what's gonna happen, like, but the people that went through it doesn't know what's gonna happen or didn't know what was about to happen. So it was really annoying reading in this book where it's like so much foreshadowing that it was just shoehorned in and we did not need it. I wanted to feel surprised, like I genuinely surprised that, oh, Esther is the queen now, what the heck, right? Genuine fear and anxiety when Haman was the one that made the decree. She's like, yo, isn't he the most trusted advisor of the king? Like, why would he do that? And like, we needed that sense of mystery and that sense of anxiety and fear of, oh my goodness, we're all gonna die. That's fear. We needed that anxiety, and we did not get that from this book. I didn't get that, and it was pretty annoying. Thank you for watching my first book review in 4 years, and my next one will be The Promised Land Diary number 2, The Laughing Princess of the Desert. So I don't know when I will be posting this one, because I was surprised that I finished this one today so early. But the next video, I don't know when it's gonna be. I don't want to tell it when, but it should be before the end of this week. So I'll see you then, and I'm so excited that you saw this video. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.